Okay, gonna do a live show here on YouTube. Southern Stampede, my offers. What class are you? Oh shoot, you're offline. I'm gonna be a couple more days here. Let's see if I can reverse it. See what my view looks like. We're doing an Instagram show. Got one of the best views. Beautiful day in San Diego. Can't complain. Here, I was just saying in my live show that, in my Instagram live, that it's not what you deserve in life. Sometimes it's what you negotiate. So I got it. This is the insurance is paying for this because something messed up at my house. So okay, so tomorrow we're gonna have our rankings out, and at any time, if you guys want to ask any questions, go ahead and do so. I got my phone out here so you can see, and let's just put it to me. So we're gonna do rankings talk. We're gonna do club basketball talk, but I'm gonna kick it off here first and pull out a little article. And if you go to IndiHoops.com, you can see a lot of great articles and blogs, and I've got my podcast up there. If you go to media, so you go to IndiHoops.com, and I'll show you right here. So when you go to media and then you go to blog, okay, so I wrote a post called The Blueprint of AAU. What was it called right here? Blueprint AAU Boys Basketball Development Blueprint 1.0. So I'm going to read that article out to you just so you can check it out and see what you guys think about this. I worked really hard on this. So I wrote, okay, we use AAU boys basketball as a term for club or travel basketball to avoid confusion. Everyone knows it's just called AAU basketball, like a Kleenex is called a tissue for whatever reason, but a Kleenex is really a brand, but that doesn't mean if you use a tissue, whatever. So this is still the most agreed upon grade. You know, the system you use for your club basketball team could make or break a player's future and career. I don't think that there's much debate about that. There's a big responsibility that you have as a club operator. And, you know, over my 10-year career, I've spent time wearing almost every hat in the basketball game. And this is actually true. And my story is that I started being into basketball when I was really 12 years old and fell in love with it. And I really coached for a really long time. I thought I was going to be a coach for the rest of my life. I thought I was going to be a college coach or a high school coach. So I coached at the JC level for 4 years. I coached at my alma mater. I coached varsity, JV, freshman. I've coached all the way from 8th grade down to 2nd grade, and almost at every level imaginable. I used to do private lessons with somebody that had a mild form of autism. So every single time that I coached him, we had to go over a right-left layup. You keep forgetting it. But that was pretty incredible, and I took the challenge on because you want to talk about how to really break down a game and not take anything for granted. You teach somebody that has autism or a learning disability. So it's actually ended up being a pretty solid player, So I did that. I've run camps. I've run very recreational camps. I've run really high-level camps. I've coached high-level players. I've coached really, like as I said. So I've done that. Run tournaments. I've run tournaments for years. Run leagues for years. Did private trainings for years. Did small group workouts. I've met a lot of good people in this game. So basically, a lot of what this article was kind of like giving something back about things that I learned. And, what I said in here is over my 10-year career, I've spent time wearing almost every hat in the basketball game. I've tried to stay at each spot until I reached what I consider a fluency in the subject. So kind of what I talked about there. So I said, who is this for? This blog is for coach, program, head coach, parent, a player that is in the 6 to 8th grade. Okay, this is in my humble opinion is the most critical of all developmental windows. It's a sacred development window. I've also, the one thing I have not really coached a lot, I don't know much about AAU girls basketball, but most of my experience up into this point is boys basketball. So I'm not focused really on that, but I'm sure that the fundamentals apply as well. So let me go back to the YouTube channel just to see if anyone's okay. So, all right. I said, so keep this seed in your head. If your skill set is not ready by the end of your 8th grade year, which is around August, then you will be past repair. There will be exceptions, and you can plan your life to be an exception if you want, but I do not create systems around exceptions, just fundamental truths. The exceptions can then come along and abide by fundamental truths and then turn themselves into legends if they so desire. So meaning, if you have all the talent, all the athleticism in the world, and then you apply your fundamentals and you actually do the things that work, then you're talking professional. If you're reading this now, the chances are you do not, and there is a good chance that you actually do, since a lot of our audience is this, you are not one of the top 50 clubs in the nation for your age group in the country. If you are, great. Again, you can take this advice to take you from a 9.3 to a 9.5. Okay. So on a scale of 1 to 10, it's very easy to jump from 4 to 5, 4 to 6, 4 to 7, right? You can do that very quickly. I said at this point, I believe it could be done in my sleep. However, if you want to go from a 9.1 to a 9.3 or a 9.3 to a 9.4, it's damn near so subtle you might miss it. So I said 2 mindsets. Number 1, start at the top. Locate the number 1 team in your city or within 200 miles if you are not in a major city. If you don't know who the top team in your city is, you could – is not you, okay? Be honest and ask yourself, if you played them, how much would you lose by? Honestly, okay? And I don't care if you're the worst team in the city. How much would you lose to the number 1? So go right to the top and learn from the best. Now that you have that figured out, you need to figure out how you will be able to play them in teams at that caliber, okay? Because the thing is this, a lot of teams, what they do, if they're not that great, a strategy is to keep them safe and not expose them, use the word exposure, to what could mentally break them or expose how good they really are in the hierarchy of this game. And so they remain safe. They don't expose them to them. But this, if you want to get scientific, the psychiatrists and whatever, they say that that's not the way to stay safe. The way to really do it is to get small by small incremental exposure to things that you are afraid of or things that are challenging to you, inch by inch. And then after a while, it's about preparing you to be able to face something that's difficult or something that you may not want to look at. Okay. So that's the way to do it. So basically without me even knowing that, it was kind of verified to me recently. That is essentially what I'm trying to talk about, is like, okay, you might want to be in that situation where you're a top team, top player. Everybody wants that. But if you're so far away from that, you're not even going to want to even look at that team. That person's going to be that team's going to be operating at a level where you are going to be blind to it, and you're going to have a blind spot to it because you might not want to know you might not want to know the truth. You might not want to know the truth about your game. Okay, so this is about the exposure part and how to really use exposure in the scientific way. So I said I did this with the team starting from 7th grade. I took it all the way to the 8th grade, and rarely do I ever see someone implementing the strategy with my club, which was called Top Gun Basketball Academy at the time. And we used it for literally insane results. Insane results. The returns just keep coming, nor am I ever asked what it is that we did. Okay. A lot of times people just don't even they're so against the exposure of it, they don't even want to even ask or find out. But so I decided to write it out for you. And if you're not ready to hear the information, it's not even going to be worth it to you. So this is for people that are ready to hear this. Your whole focus is to, in parentheses, play the best teams you can find. So we have a great directory of youth basketball tournaments for you to research. That's what we're about. If you are in the 6th grade, play the top 7th grade team in your area, maybe an 8th grade team. When you're in 7th grade, play against high schoolers. Long-term philosophy. Play up, play the best, and 10 to 15% of your year can be playing your own level because you can get confidence and whatever. It's good to it's good. It's a good rule in general that I've heard that's been taught to me is 33, 33, 33 rule. Spend 33% of your time with your peers and people that are on your level. Spend 33% of your time with people way ahead of you, 20 years ahead of you, their mentors, and spend 33% of your time with people that are not at your level yet and help them out. That's a good formula. So what I take into account is, yeah, you want to be playing up all the time, but you also want to play your peers from time to time. And you also less than 33%, I'd say, in your development, because you don't really have much to give anyway when you're in middle school. You have a little bit. So 10 to 15% of your year can be playing your own level for your confidence. The reason you will not do this is because of fear. I talked about this before. The reason you will not do this is because of fear and massive amounts of pressure you will receive from outside forces when you do this. So, you got to toughen up and don't cave. You must buy into this philosophy because it will get lonely. But if you're coaching for the right reasons, then you will truly not care because your kids will understand it one day down the road. The reason is this: you're going to get embarrassed at first. You're going to get ran off the court. You might lose by 50. But the fool is the precursor to the savior. They say it's a biblical thing. The fool is the precursor because you humble yourself and you actually learn the truth, and then you could take steps to see where you need to go. So I say this: the AAU boys basketball development strategy. Oh, this is cool. I didn't see it. I've got 40 shares on this on Facebook. You need to be able to play the best teams in your area, but you need to keep the game reasonable so they will not see it as a waste of their time. I'm talking about middle school here again for those that you just joined. You need to be able to play the best teams in your area, but you need to keep the game reasonable so they will not see it as a waste of their time. Because, if you do too much exposure, the person will quit and run away. You have to do the right amount and won't shatter your team and make everyone quit. So there's a balancing act. If you lose by 10 to the best team in the state, it's like winning the championship. That's a huge win. When you're at a supreme disadvantage, meaning you're playing a team 30 points to 40 points better than you, you can't come at that team the way that you're used to, though. Remember, our goal is just to be able to hang with these teams for a long time. So here's tip number 1 and how to do this. Okay? Try again. Your connection, try again. Hold on 1 second. Let me make sure I get back on YouTube Live. Okay. So tip number 1, slow down. I said, I haven't seen you play and you play too fast. Remember, you were 30 to 40 points worse than this great team, and you will never beat them at the speed that you're likely to play at. See, like when someone's way better than you, you can't just force your thing into what they're doing because you're going to lose. Some of the best solutions are from using inversion. So you solve them easier when you look backward at them. It's like an algebraic thing. So it's like you look backwards. So for example, how do I beat a team that is 30 to 40 points better than me? That's a good question to ask. How about the inversion? How do I guarantee that I get blown out by them and embarrassed and blow out for myself? How do I guarantee that? And I think the answer to this is very simple. It's turnovers. The team is going to turn you over in the backcourt and run up a bunch of layups on you before you know it, and then you're going to get blown out. So I said, rule number 1, no turnovers. The good news, let's go back to this real fast. Yeah, try again. Exit. No. It's always something with YouTube Live. The good news about this is you don't need to have any natural talent or athleticism to be like this. Your focus should be on passing, catching, and securing the ball. Angles, ball fakes, and safe passes are your top 3 priorities. Spend 1 week studying John Chaney of Temple. I guarantee you won't tolerate turnovers. Look up John Chaney on stuff on turnovers. Turnovers in AAU boys basketball equals hell. It's a bottomless pit of hell. And I put a link there. Number 2, protect the paint. No easy layups. Force them to shoot. Parentheses, both cannot do this anymore. You have to do this by playing man-to-man defense too. Don't take a shortcut here. It will be tempting. Do not do it. Solve your turnover problem, and that will knock this, and that will do a lot of your heavy lifting, because now you're making them play at a slower speed if you're not turning it over in the half court, parentheses, most can't, and making them shoot tough, contested 2-pointers. And that's exactly what you're trying to do on defense, right? You're trying to force contested twos. So number 3, get back on defense. So here's your 3 rules. Number 1, you're not allowed to turn it over. Not at all. Just tell them. You're just not allowed to do it. Number 2, protect the paint. Number 3, get back on defense. I said I've never seen a youth team work on transition defense, ever. I've never seen it specifically. I said we did, but that's about it. Get 5 guys back on the paint and have them in a whistle and sprint back to the other paint as fast as they can, and then close out on 5 spots. Mike Dunlap has a good transition defense DVD. Do not give up transition buckets. Make them play in the half court against 5 of your guys. So if you do these 3 rules, no turnovers and ball security, this will add 10 points to your plus-minus score. You protect the paint better, this will add 10 points to your plus-minus score. Because not only that, a lot of these teams thrive on offensive rebounds. So if a lot of offensive rebounds is from letting people get into the paint, because now your defense is all out of whack. Transition defense, this will add 10 points to your plus-minus score. So there's your 30 points right there. I said, conclusion. If I had your team right now in 4 weeks of practice, we would focus on perfecting this, and that team that beat us by 30, I think in a couple of months' time, it would be a 1-possession game at the end. I have seen it too many times. Now, why are we focusing so much on this, right? Because you can only focus on a few things. So these are my rules, because your goal is to play better than people that are better than you as much as you can, and you're trying to stay in the game by not losing bad, so then you can eventually win down the line. I used to always say, do you want to win or do you want to be a winner? This is about building winners. You can have your win today. The biggest thing in this, though, is that you are in this for a long-term result. That's where all the true value is. And you're going to spend the formative years battling, testing your team to be ready for anything. And by spending their time around the best team and players, they will figure it out by osmosis. See, the thing is, a lot of us and myself and a lot of people, we could learn so much by being around some of the top minds and things in our cities and travel to do that. Number 1, we're not ready to even be exposed to them. And number 2, they are not going to they're not even going to want to help us. So, they say the rule is, and that's so true, that's going to be a lot higher than you. But here's the thing. They know that too, that you're the average of the 5 people. So you're actually going to bring down their average. So they don't want you there either. So what's your way around this? I think it's gradual exposure, in my opinion. I said, you can then go to sleep at night knowing you did everything for the kid by the time they graduate high school. Because if you're a coach, it should be about them anyway. It should be. Where the foundation will be like a good investment. Just sit back and watch. Is the game missing fundamentals? How do you teach it? Yes, fundamentals are what leads to ball security and no turnovers. So when you're working on rule number 1, you're working on fundamentals. When you're working on number 2, you're working on toughness, keep them out of the paint. And when you're working on number 3, you're working on IQ. So I said, that was our buzzword fit. Fundamentals, IQ, toughness. Our 1-sentence mission: to keep the game as close as possible by playing the best teams in your area, state, or country with the given talent that you have. If you take on this, in conclusion, if you take on this philosophy with the 6th grade team at the beginning and finish with the core of that group at 8th grade, I will bet on you almost every time. Unless you are playing against a top team in the country, and hell, you might even have a chance there. By all means, if you are doing this and a kid leaves, I would spend about 5 minutes max thinking about it and then never think about it again. It's their funeral, and they don't deserve to be a part of this beautiful system. Most people are not comfortable talking about how to be at a disadvantage. It's like they want to blind themselves to it at all costs. Well, whatever. Here's your strategy laid out for you, because there's a good chance you'll be at a disadvantage for a long time in AAU boys basketball, and not only that, in life. So how do you handle it? How do you handle it? So that is from my blog article, AAU Boys Basketball Development, the Blueprint 1.0. It's been shared 40 times by Facebook, which I'm proud of. I'm going to bring this article back out. If you could kindly share it. If you could go to our YouTube channel and subscribe, youtube.com/IndiHoops. Yeah, so that's our show for today. If you guys have any questions, let me know. But the let's do some plugs here. The Indy World 3 Final. We've got representation now from the West Coast. We've got representation from the South. We've got representation from Canada. We've got top players coming. We still have a few spots left. That's June 28th through July 1st. That is in Dallas, Texas. Tribe Nation facility where the EYBL was just at. 6-court facility. Yeah, 8th grade basketball. It's the one chance where you can be treated like royalty. Every other tournament's not going to care about you. I don't care who you have. And then we have our Indy World South Regional Final. So that's a chance. That's in Atlanta. That's May 11th through the 13th. I will be there. I've got my ticket already. I'm excited for that. Getting a lot of signups for that. The winner of that will get a free entry, and we'll get a top bid into the Super Pool and the final. So that's in Atlanta. We've got the East Coast North qualifier. That is by Zero Gravity. That's in DC, and that's during the same time. That's May 12th to the 13th. And then we have a few other events that I'd like to talk about. If you'd like to come to this beautiful city, San Diego, at a beautiful time, June 22nd to the 24th. The water will be amazing. It'll be good enough to dive in, just a bathing suit. And that's June 22nd to the 24th. We've got the ATX Knights Summer Tournament. That's in the middle of June. That's in Austin, Texas. Should be over 200 teams. Shout out to Michael Robertson at ATX Knights. We've got the Vegas tournament during live period, but for D3 and NAIA players, so they're not wasting their time and money out there, and just so they can be part of the cool kids at Fab 48 or whatever in a back gym. They could actually go to the right target audience. And got the Battle in Seattle, July 6th to the 8th, which I'll be at. That's a really fun tournament. Jellyfam KB5 said, will you be at the Drew Joyce Classic Tournament in Akron, Ohio? Thanks for bringing that up. I will not personally be there. We'll have representatives there, and we're really taking into effect those scores for our rankings will be really taken into consideration. So Drew Joyce is a big supporter of ours. We're a big supporter of them, and they had a tournament last weekend, and it went really, really well. I got some great feedback on it, but his signature event is in Akron, and that is this weekend. So which team are you with? Hopefully we'll get to see you out there. So there's that. There is the Atlanta. We have a qualifier in Canada, Coulter Simmons, the Atlantic City tournament in Halifax, Nova Scotia. That's May 18th to the 20th. Winner gets a bid to the Indy World 3 Final, a free bid. That's our Canadian qualifier. And these are all off my top of my head. Oh, the Gatorade invite, June 1st to the 3rd, completely loaded, Indianapolis, some middle school event. What am I missing here? We've got, let me plug a newer event here. See, I'm just going to right here. Got the Cinco de Mayo event, May 5th through the 6th here in the Inland Empire in California by Cali Elite. You've got the ATL Hoop Fest by NG Sports, NG in Atlanta, Guanique. Talked about the DC Hoops Review. Talked about the Drew Joyce Classic. They just had their Nashville event. Oh, yeah. The Threat Hoops Memorial Day Classic in Missouri is a Memorial Day event. We've got the Midwest Crossroads Regional Championship And the USSSA National Championships are June 28th through July 1st, and that's in Florida. Okay, so I think I hit on all those. Make sure to go to IndiLockers.com, IndiLockers.com for all 8th graders. And we have over 700 players on there in the 8th grade, class of 2022. If you want to be a scout, we have over 100. Sign up today. And if scouts that are in there, make sure that you're reviewing and ranking. We've got 700 players in there for you to review and rank, and those will update every Wednesday. So you need to get those rankings in there and reviews. And then tomorrow will be our big rankings reveal from the live period. So sign up for Indy Lockers. If you're a club basketball team, you can become a certified club member, and we're here for you. So I'm going to sign off here. Anderson Heat, 8th grade. Shout out to you right there. Let me just put in, make sure that he gets to IndiLockers.com. Spread the word. I'm getting off there later. All right, everyone. Peace.